Hey everybody, welcome to Fit Tip Tuesday. Today I'm going to show you how to mark your dress form to use it to drape a wrap style bodice or top. This is a challenging design for me because I'm large busted, and to get the fabric to lay nicely where it wraps across in the front can be a little bit. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to use my DittoForm to do that. Before we get started though, I want to tell you something new and exciting that I have in common with Jane Fonda and Lily Thomlin of Grace and Frankie. You know that show, I think it's on Netflix. Well, now all three of us have DittoForms because they contacted Carol at DittoForm about creating body doubles for those two actresses so they can keep production going in this new COVID-19 situation. So I just think that's very, very cool that, like I have a DittoForm just like Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. So I think that's very cool. And I just want to give a shout out and congratulations to Carol because I think that's such exciting news. I'm going to put a link to the little article about it in the description if you want to check that out. That's very, very cool. So getting back to my body double, let's look at my design. I got this cool notebook a while back, and it's got figures on it because I am a terrible sketcher. I can't draw to save my life. And if you look closely at these little sketches I drew, you can see why I'm just not, that's just not my thing. It does give me a starting point to create a new pattern. So I use this as sort of a very rough sketch of what I want to design. And you can see here, I'm just going to start out with this one is just going to be sleeveless, and it's going to cross over or wrap. So this side will actually be a wrap. So I'll just do a dash mark there so you can see it'll be, symmetrical on both sides. Now, underneath the empire waist seam, I'm not sure about making a wrap at the bottom or not. This is a question mark. So I'll think about that as I design along, but this top portion is really what I want to create on my DittoForm. So let's look at my form. You can see I've added black tape or black ribbon to my form over my cover. If you haven't seen my how to create a custom cover for your dress form, I'll put a link to that in the description below too. It's a step-by-step 5-video series on how to create a custom cover. So my cover has the princess seams and an empire waist seam stitched into it. But what I want to do now is highlight the seams that I'm going to be using to make this new design. So what I did was I ran my black, it's sort of black grosgrain ribbon. This actually came with my DittoForm. It's perfect for marking the dress form. And I did the center front, I did the empire waist, and I did the waist all the way around. But you'll notice all of my other seams, I did my princess seam just for a reference. When you drape something symmetrical, you really only have to work with half. And even though it's crossing over to the other side, I feel like I'm symmetrical enough that I'm not going to drape both sides of it to create the pattern pieces. So that's what it looks like so far. And I marked my, my base of the neck up here just on half. So I would have that as a reference. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use these reference lines to create the bodice pieces, and really all I need to add to this is the crisscross or that top edge of the neckline onto here. And I'm basically going to connect it from my shoulder across the bust to the empire waist because that's where it's going to stop. All right, so I've basically got almost every line that I need to create this design on my dress form already. I've already pinned them on, but I have to add the edge, that top edge to the neckline. So before we get going, I just want to show you, I've got myself a box of dressmaker pins. These are Drits. They're firmer you know, stronger, and they don't bend. So try not to use your silk pins or your glass head pins on your dress form because they tend to bend and then they get ruined. So use, you know, these heavier pins. And then before we add that style line for the neckline, I just want to do some comparison measurements. I'm going to measure myself right under my bust, which is where my empire waist is marked on my dress form. And actually, I'm just going to measure from the shoulder down to where I have it marked. I have it marked at 16 inches. I'm just going to make a note on here that this is 16 inches. All right, so it's 16 inches, and I checked it on myself, and it's 16 inches on me too. So I just want to go through and verify that my DittoForm is close enough to my measurements, or where I put my tape is close enough to what I want to end up with. So the length from the shoulder to the empire waist on my DittoForm matches. Let me measure my empire waist here. All right, so that's 37. So now let me measure the empire waist on my DittoForm. And on my DittoForm, it's actually 38, but that's not because of the cover. I was worried the cover was going to add width and make the measurement bigger. I've been losing weight, and I'm actually wearing a dress, one of my tea dresses that I designed probably in like 2000 and a long time ago, at least 5 or 6 years ago, and it almost fits perfectly. It's a little bit snugger through the bust than I would like, but I tried it on and it was wearable, so I got excited and I left it on for this video. So I'm actually shrinking a little bit. So having the DittoForm be an inch larger than I am at my empire waist is actually not a bad thing, because when I'm draping my actual pieces, it will help build in some ease. So the empire waist measures 37 inches, and I'm just going to make a note of that on here. Okay. And then the other thing I want to measure is my full bust. So let me do that. So my full bust measures we'll say 44 and a quarter. This is actually exciting. I'm actually measuring myself on camera and sharing all of my good hard work I've been doing since the pandemic started, because I've actually lost 15 pounds. So my full bust used to be 46. So now it's 40. We'll say 44 and a half. So this is 44 and a half. I'm just going to make a note. And then let's measure my DittoForm and see what that is. So my DittoForm measures, if I measure it straight through to the full bust, it measures 45. Again, that's only a ½ inch difference. I'm happy with that. So that's good. And I'd rather have it be a little bit big than a little bit small. So my DittoForm is only a ½ inch bigger than me right now. I'm going with that. And then just to see overall length of my cover, so like if I measure myself from my base of my neck, just to see, so right here at the like Adam's apple, like the base of my neck down, let's say I'm going to measure where I probably would want my top to stop. Let's say 24 inches. I just want to compare that to my DittoForm here. Okay, and actually my cover is exactly from the base of the neck to the bottom of my cover is 24 inches. So that works out great. So I could make this top, you know, when I go to add the bottom section, I can just make it the length of my cover. So I'm happy with the measurements. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this final piece of twill tape, or grosgrain ribbon actually, to my DittoForm, and it's going to mark that front piece. So let me, just going to pin it. I'm going to have it start right at that princess seam line. That's a good amount of distance from my neck. And I'm going to have it come down, and I'm going to pin through here. And then I want it to crisscross fairly high. I don't want to have a lot of cleavage showing. So let's have it start to cross over up here. You know, I can always play with that when I see what it's doing. And then let's have it cross over. Maybe, let's see. I think I'm going to have it cross over so it's crossing the center front line. Let's see. I'm going to measure here. I'm going to go with 2.5 inches. So I'm having it finish at the empire waist 2.5 inches approximately. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to add some pins in there to keep it nice and firmly. And actually, just going to let it relax a little bit there. All right, and then I have the, okay, so I have the basic shape of it. Once you get the basic shape, you really want to nail it down with your pins so it doesn't move around. And I want to have, in the front here, I'm going to switch sides. In the front, I want it to have sort of a gentle curve, so it's curving out a little bit here. I don't want it to be a straight line. So I'm just going to create kind of a gentle curve. Like that. Okay. I think I might move this out just a little bit. Maybe make this 3 inches. Okay, so that's making a nice line across. Okay, so that's going to be the neckline edge. Okay, so obviously I'm going to have to cut out 2 because they're going to, you know, crisscross over. All right, so that's that. And then the other thing I need to mark is my armhole. Okay, so I'm right here. So I think I'll have my strap be about 1.25 inches. That should be enough to hide my bra. So I'm just going to pin that, and then I'm going to just make my armhole. Okay, and I'm going to have it come down probably 1.5 inches from like the base of my, you know, I'm going to have it come down about 1.5 inches from my underarm because it is sleeveless. I tend to make my armholes really high because I don't like my, you know, my bra to show, but I think 1.5 inches is okay. All right, so now I've got my strap. So this will be the strap area. Okay, and you can see on the side what that shape is going to look like. And I'm going to use the seam here as my guide for my side seam. All right, so there you go. So I'm just going to add a few more pins. Okay. All right, so now my dress form is ready to drape the front pieces. I do have to go in and add the back armhole, but I ran out of tape, so I'm going to have to find something else to use. But I just wanted to show you, how you can use tape or, grosgrain ribbon, twill tape, anything that's thin like this that you can pin onto your dress form to mark the style of what you want to drape. And in an upcoming Fit Tip Tuesday, I'm going to show you how to drape these pieces. I want to make it and finish it first so I can show you the finished results, because whenever you drape something that has an open neckline, in addition to draping it on the dress form, you're also going to have to do some contouring, which means you're going to take in the edge of the neckline a little bit to fit the hollows of your body. So I want to spend some time talking about that as well in an upcoming Fit Tip Tuesday. So for now, I wanted to just show you how I'm using the seams on my cover, how I'm adding style lines with the grosgrain ribbon, and to share that good news about DittoForm going to Hollywood. I think that's so exciting. So I hope you enjoyed this. I will see you next week for another Fit Tip Tuesday. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and please share your questions and comments. If you have questions about what I'm working on, please post them and I will help you. Yeah, and click the little subscribe button too if you enjoy my videos. So that's it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next week for another Fit Tip Tuesday.